Hey everyone, I'm Josh Radner, and I am so excited to tell you about How We Made Your Mother, a rewatch podcast looking back at How I Met Your Mother. And I'm here with Craig Thomas, who co-created the show along with Carter Bays. Hi, Craig.
Hey, Josh. Somehow it has been 20 years since the show premiered. I'm going to check the math on that. 10 years since it went off the air, and we thought that made this a perfect time to look back, see what the hell we did, and why the show still seems to resonate with fans around the world today.
Follow and listen to How We Made Your Mother wherever you get your podcasts.
Earlier this year, the White House changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And now, apparently, Pete Hegseth has changed it to the Department of War Crimes. Norman Chad. Norman Chad. Welcome to Gambling Mad with Norman Chad. I am Norman Chad. Coming up on the program today, a high school football player shows good sportsmanship. Mickey Mouse is involved in a gambling scandal. And Joe Burrow has never seen a crab leg before. Gambling Mad, as always, brought to you by Fritos, picked fresh off of Central California trees each morning, delivered directly to your local retailer each afternoon. And by the refreshing taste of Fresca. Fritos and Fresca. It's a meal. I don't feel like dealing with the real world this week. Heaven knows the gambling world is dark and depressing enough. But let me just get the real world out of the way with one factual opinion and one fictionalized fact. Okay, number one. It appears Donald Trump has monetized the 7 deadly sins. And number two, earlier this year, the White House changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And now, apparently, Pete Hegseth has changed it to the Department of War Crimes. Let me say one more thing before we move on to brighter horizons. You know, it's really, really, really difficult to commit a war crime when you're not even at war. Heck of a trick. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. All right, let's turn to an uplifting tale of good sportsmanship. You all remember, sportsmanship, back in the old days, respectful conduct from athletes and coaches and fans and spectators. Back in the old days, a commitment to showing grace whether you won or lost. Maybe the most famous example of sportsmanship came during the 1936 Olympic Games. After the long jump final, gold medalist Jesse Owens and runner-up German rival Luz Long embraced, and despite the political tensions at the time, they walked off the track arm in arm together. Actually, that was pre-ESPN, so I'm not sure it really happened. So let's forward to post-ESPN and this high school football season in Southern California. Southgate beat Dorsey in a sectional semifinal 28-20. Both teams were shaking hands with each other after the game. Southgate junior quarterback Michael Gonzalez noticed a Dorsey player he did not know by the name of William Smith crying while resting on one knee with his head down and his helmet off. Gonzalez went over to console him. Photographer Nick Koza captured the moment, and the photo ran in the Los Angeles Times. As reported by legendary LA Times high school writer Eric Sondheimer, Gonzalez said that he told Smith, "There's more to life than just football. You've got college. Keep your head up. It was a good game." Pretty simple stuff. Pretty terrific stuff. Sondheimer asked Gonzalez where he learned about sportsmanship, and his answer was, "It was what I was taught by my mom and my coaches. Be a good person no matter what." Pretty simple stuff. Pretty terrific stuff. Thank you, Michael Gonzalez. Just a teenager, and we could use more adults just like you. All right, fairy tale hour is over. let's go to the brutal reality of this unending nightmare that we are enduring. Remember, my friends, nobody lives happily ever after. Which means it's time for D-Gen's Gonna D-Gen. Case number 1. A married couple from Kazakhstan visited Australia a couple of months ago. They went to Sydney and started gambling at the Crown Sydney every day. Over the course of October and November, they won nearly $1.2 million at the casino. They were so lucky that casino security started to take a closer look. And what did the eye in the sky discover? The couple had hatched a scheme that involved hiding a mobile phone in a Mickey Mouse t-shirt, according to casino.org. This is next level, and we here at Gambling Mad are quite impressed. Anytime someone can use the cash cow Disney empire to line their own pockets is a good day for the little guys and little gals here on planet Earth. So on the t-shirt they used, there's an emblem on this Mickey Mouse t-shirt that made it easier to disguise the presence of a phone. The phone's camera allegedly streamed table games live to a remote co-conspirator who then would instruct either the husband or the wife how to bet. Police searched the couple's accommodations at a nearby apartment where they found other gambling props, some high-end jewelry, and 2,000 euros. The police did not report what card game the couple was playing. It's likely, you got to assume it was probably blackjack. They were arrested on charges of dishonestly obtaining a financial advantage by deception. Well, actually, who among us doesn't dishonestly obtain a financial advantage by deception? Anyway, if they were playing blackjack, I'm assuming their accomplice was card counting and then telling them how much to bet or whether to hit or stand on particular hands. I used to card count when I played blackjack for 2 or 3 years. I hardly ever was successful when I was card counting, but I guess I didn't card count that well. I certainly never won more than $1 million over several weeks. I did get a comped buffet at the Mirage, though, on one particular night. D-Gen's Gonna D-Gen, case number 2. They say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. However, you can lead a horse to a singles bar, and you can make it hard. The National Finals Rodeo is in Las Vegas for 10 days at the Thomas and Mack Center. Big event. About 175,000 fans attend the 10-day National Finals Rodeo. But the big event has been stalled by an outbreak of horse herpes. The breakaway roping was postponed. The bucking horse and bull sale went forward with no live animals, just video and photos. This equine herpes virus is highly contagious. The horses are being quarantined. Their temperatures are taken every day. If just one horse tests positive during the finals, the whole shebang gets shut down. Now, this virus usually spreads through respiratory droplets, even human contact, but most likely this herpes, we're talking about it's kissing or sexual activity that makes it spread. All it takes is one stallion to drink too much one night and make a move on a filly. And have you seen the horses? Have you seen the horses at these rodeos? Good looking group. The colts are muscular. The mares are rather fetching. Older viewers might remember the time Mr. Ed in late 1965 impregnated a fetching filly down the street. And because they chose to get an abortion, CBS took the show off the air.
What's up, guys? It's Candace Dillard-Bassett.
And I'm Michael Arsenault, and this is Undomesticated.
We're putting it all on the kitchen table and inviting you to the function. Follow and listen to Undomesticated, available wherever you get your podcasts.
D-Gen's Gonna D-Gen. Kalshi, the unsavory predictions market that essentially allows you to wager on the outcome of real world events, got some good news and some bad news this past week or so. Let's do the bad news first. I'm no fan of Kalshi for a number of reasons. And as I mentioned here several weeks ago, when it dove into the predictions market regarding sporting activities, it likely was breaking the law in many states that do not allow sports betting. Well, a class action lawsuit was filed in a New York federal court. The lawsuit states, quote, by operating unlicensed sports betting, Kalshi has violated gambling laws, engaged in illegal deceptive activity, and unjustly enriched itself at the expense of tens of thousands of consumers. I don't know about the deceptive activity part of the suit. That's a part of the legal action that we're not going to delve into. But I do know that when you can buy, sell, and trade derivatives on the results of sporting contests, that's just another obvious form of sports betting. Kalshi and its prime competitor, Polymarket, are both engaged in sports gambling, no matter how they couch it or how they present it. But Kalshi also got some very good news this past week, on top of the fact that the company raised $1 billion in its latest financing round, bringing its valuation to $11 billion. Okay. The additional good news, as reported first by Axios, involves Kalshi partnering with CNN, making it the official prediction market that the cable news network will use on all of its platforms. So what exactly does that mean? Kalshi will provide real-time probabilities of major political and cultural events for CNN. That sounds somewhat benign, but we've got to wonder about a news outlet climbing into bed with what is essentially a gambling outfit. As we have discussed on previous Gambling Mads, you can buy and sell propositions on Kalshi on just about anything. Who's going to win an election, how many viewers might be watching the Academy Awards, what the inflation rate in the United States will be at the end of the next quarter. But this is what I expect. You know that news ticker that always is running at the bottom of the CNN screen? That will be infected by Kalshi propositions. Right now on FanDuel regional sports networks, as you watch an NBA game, you get live in-game betting lines scrolling across the bottom. I believe CNN will have live prediction market betting lines that Kalshi establishes crawling across the bottom of their screen. Anything wrong with that? Probably not. Time for NFL picks. Oh, take a look. My goodness. I finally had a winning record, 2-1-2. Still a miserable season record against the spread, and I am in grave danger of finishing below 50% for the first time in 5 years. When that happens, Tony, my current wife, makes me sleep on the office couch instead of on the living room couch. Let's get to the picks. Titans at Browns. Chiefs Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day was the most watched NFL regular season game in history. 57.23 million viewers. With Titans Browns, I think we're looking at 0.23 viewers. I can't root for Browns rookie Shedeur Sanders. My rule is you gotta walk the walk before you can talk the talk. Jesus did it that way. Howard Hughes did it that way. Mr. Rogers did it. Okay, the Titans are the NFL's worst team. No doubt about that. They are 1-13. They're also the league's lowest scoring team. And everyone is predicting that all-world Myles Garrett will have a monster day against Tennessee's offense. But, what if he doesn't even show up? Okay, maybe he forgets to set his alarm. Maybe he decides he's in an art museum mood on Sunday. Anyway, everybody is taking the Browns here as a small favorite. When everyone goes one way, we here at Gambling Mad go the other way. Besides, the Titans are actually 5-7 against the point spread this season. I will take the miserable Titans getting 4 points. Saints at Buccaneers. I'm going to close my right eye and tell you why I'm taking the miserable Saints. This is their second straight road game in Florida, and they love the state of Florida. They almost beat Miami last week. They might beat Tampa Bay this week. Now, I have been tough on the Saints rookie quarterback, Tyler Shough, but I believe he's going to have his best game of the season versus Tampa Bay. Sure, he's going to get sacked. And you know what? He'll pick himself up off the ground and he will run the next play. And if he gets sacked again, well, okay, it's going to be 3rd and long. So what? Chris Olave will catch a 24-yard pass for a first down from Tyler Shough. Also, I am still mad at Baker Mayfield because every time I picked him in the Buccaneers earlier this season, they did not cover. I have a long memory, my friends. You just ask my first divorce attorney who I fired. I am going with the Saints and 8.5 points in this game. Go, Tyler Shough. Time for the colander game of the week. The Colts at the Jaguars. This game is all about Colts quarterback Daniel Jones. Which Daniel Jones will we see? The Daniel Jones who led the Colts to a 7-1 record to start the season, or the Daniel Jones who has struggled over the last month? Plus, Jones is playing with a fibula injury. Fibula injuries are tough. I couldn't write for nearly 6 months with my fibula injury. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Most fibulas are between the knee and the ankle. But I was a busted cesarean birth, and my fibula is actually between my wrist and my palm in my writing hand, which is actually my left hand. Okay? So now Jones, with limited mobility in his leg, he's going to have trouble with the Jaguars' pass rush. The Jaguars have 12 sacks in the last 4 games. And Jones is not that good under pressure. I saw him at the supermarket last week trying to pick out avocados and melons as the store was closing, and he made a lot of bad decisions. Finally, our monthly reminder. Why does the NFL have a team in Jacksonville? Port St. Lucie, I can see, but Jacksonville? I'm taking the Jaguars in this one as a 1.5 point underdog. Bears at Packers. Woo! It's going to be a good one. The Bears have not won the NFC North. I think they've only won it once in the last 14 seasons, actually. And even though they've won 5 in a row and lead the division, they have a lot of doubters. Chicago still hasn't faced a really good defense. There are 7 teams in the NFL giving up less than 20 points a game, and the Bears haven't played any of them. The Packers will be the first of those good defenses that Chicago plays. So the Bears are going to have to do what they do best, and that's run the ball very, very well. Old school style, though, like Bronco Nagurski used to do in Chicago. And don't tell me you've never heard of Bronco Nagurski just because he was born in 1908. A lot of great people were born in 1908, and you should know who they are. Anyway, the Bears now, we'll find out if they're good or not. They're going to be, the next 4 weeks, they play the Packers twice, they play the Lions, and they play the 49ers. We'll find out if they are legit. Okay, and by the way, I'm tired of how the media just does certain stuff. So I read a long story this week that talked how Ben Johnson, the Bears coach, the new Bears coach, has changed the culture of the franchise. Okay, now, 2 or 3 years from now, if he happens to get fired, then we'll be told that his message wasn't hitting home anymore. Okay, my goodness, the man has only coached 12 games. So let's hold off on anointing Ben Johnson as the next Bill Belichick. I believe the Packers will win this one, but the spread's 6.5 points. It's going to be closer than 6.5 points. It's going to be Green Bay 23, Chicago 19.5. I will take the Bears as a 6.5 point underdog. Eagles at Chargers. I'm not going to provide any real in-depth analysis on this one. I'm just going to give you 8 reasons why I'm taking the Chargers. Number 1, I don't like how Eagles coach Nick Sirianni manages games. Number 2, I hate most Philadelphia sports fans. Number 3, I want all the Eagles fans who will outnumber Chargers fans in LA to go back to their rooms and Holiday Inn in a foul mood. Number 4, I am tired of the Eagles winning close games. Number 5, you can take your tush push and shove it where the sun don't shine. Number 6, when I'm in Philadelphia, the only thing I eat is Fritos, picked fresh off of Central California trees each morning. Number 7, the Liberty Bell is cracked a lot. And number 8, 6 Rocky films were 5 too many. There you got it. 8 reasons the Chargers are going to win this game. That's right. They're a 3-point dog, and I'm taking them to win the game outright. Did you all watch the Thanksgiving Day NFL Bengals-Ravens game? The Bengals won 32-14. And afterward, they always have that post-game turkey feast with the winning players that they show on NBC. While NBC sideline reporter Melissa Stark was interviewing some of the Bengals, we saw quarterback Joe Burrow pick up a crab from the table, look at it strangely, smell it briefly, and then ask Stark, "What is this?" Stark, a Maryland native, told him that it is a Maryland crab, and she said, "It's hard shell, you don't bite it, you have to pull the legs off." She knows what she's talking about. I've got to tell you, I've always been a big fan of Joe Burrow, but how has he never seen a crab before? Sure, he was born in Ames, Iowa, not exactly the crab capital of the world, but he turns 29 years old this month. He's traveled all across these great United States, and he went to LSU. There's got to be some crabs crawling around the campus there in Baton Rouge. Anyway, Burrow didn't eat the crab. He didn't even eat the turkey. I'll bet he's never even heard of a Philadelphia cheesesteak. I am going to the Bahamas next week for the World Series of Poker. To my friends, this seems like a dream assignment. Look at me. Okay, don't look too long, but look at me. And what do you see that says beach blanket bingo? What, you think I'm bringing 3 bathing suits so I can scuba dive and snorkel? Heck, I don't even take my socks off when I take a shower. I will not be dipping a single big toe into the Caribbean. Believe me when I tell you that I would rather be in, say, Milwaukee or Seattle before being in paradise in the Bahamas. So it's not good news for me to go to the Bahamas. And frankly, I doubt it's good news for the Bahamas to have me. I don't think I'm a tourist attraction, and I don't think my presence puts any of the other tourists in a better mood. And let me ask this question of my fellow poker players. Most of you are happy to travel to such a warm and sunny resort in the month of December, but do you realize you're going to be inside playing poker 12 hours a day? Yeah, we're there to play poker. It's built into the name of the event, the World Series of Poker. So why go that far to sit in a card room when you could do the same thing in Tahoe or Tunica? Anyway, my plan is to win a WSOP bracelet and several $100,000. And who knows, maybe I'll stay in the Bahamas. I could get used to it. I'm sure they have a library or a bowling alley somewhere there. Before we wrap up, I'm going to say this one time and one time only.
What's up, guys? It's Candace Dillard-Bassett, former Real Housewife of Potomac.
And I'm Michael Arsenault, author of the New York Times bestseller, I Can't Date Jesus. And this is Undomesticated, the podcast where we aren't just saying the quiet parts out loud.
We're putting it all on the kitchen table and inviting you to the function. If you're ready for some bold takes and a little bit of chaos, welcome to Undomesticated. Follow and listen to Undomesticated, available wherever you get your podcasts.
When you go to the drugstore to buy some razor blades, they shouldn't be under lock and key. Okay, I'm not asking America to return to white picket fences and milkmen delivering milk to your doorstep, but it would be nice to go to the pharmacy and not have to wait for an attendant to unlock anything you want to buy. I realize the economy is tough and shoplifting is up, but it shouldn't take a court order to purchase a bar of soap. I've read about how much the drugstores like CVS and Walgreens are struggling. I go into my local CVS and there's often only one cashier and maybe one other worker in the entire store. I press that buzzer and that's because I want to get some nasal spray. But by the time the attendant gets there, my sinuses have cleared up. My goodness, my preferred hemorrhoid treatment is behind glass. I didn't realize Preparation H was the Dom Perignon of hemorrhoid creams. And you know what really flares up my hemorrhoids? Standing around waiting so you can tell some underpaid Walgreens employee that you need some hemorrhoids ointment. I don't even like saying the word hemorrhoids. Or suppository, for that matter. Dang. My anus is swelling as we speak. Thankfully, that will do it for another edition of Gambling Mad with Norm and Chad. Hope to see you again next time. And remember, if you're going to roll the dice, make sure they're loaded. I want to talk about restaurants, food servers, and cash. This comes from a perspective of someone who eats out a lot, used to be a waiter, and often pays in cash. I love cash. I love when my wallet is overstuffed with cash. And I love when my pockets are filled with too many $10 and $20 bills. Cash helps you stay out of credit card debt. If you only pay cash, then you're never going to spend more than you have in your pocket. As a former waiter myself a couple of generations ago, I used to deal with a lot of cash. These days, most folks use credit cards at restaurants, so food servers aren't used to it. What bothers me particularly as a former waiter myself is when you leave cash with your check on the table and the waiter or waitress picks it up and asks, "Would you like some change?" That question drives me culinarily crazy. In that situation, and I say this as a former waiter myself, the server should do one of two things. You either pick up the check quietly and then bring back the change, or you say to the customer, "I'll be right back with your change," which allows the diner to say, no, we're good. As a former waiter myself, trust me, that's how it should work. Don't ask me if I want some change. Maybe I'm hypersensitive about this, being a former waiter myself, but I loathe that question. Just bring me the change. As a former waiter myself, and by the way, as you might imagine, I didn't like most customers. There's a very good chance that the day might come when I'm asked if I want some change, in which I will take that cash, tear every bill in half, look the server in the eye and say, "Looks like there's not going to be any change at all because I'm not paying tonight." Is that a rational action on my part? Probably not. But I'm here to tell you in no uncertain terms, as a former waiter myself, that if I am ever asked whether I want some change again in this or any subsequent lifetime, I will go gambling mad.
Gambling Mad with Norm and Chad is written by Norm and Chad and ghostwritten by Norm and Chad. Executive producers are John Scheinberg and Rick Barrio-Dill. Produced by Norm and Chad and Rick Barrio-Dill. Our associate producers are Bree Khoury and Asher Friedberg. and edited by Asher Friedberg with studio facilities at 360 Pod Studios, Beverly Hills.
Do you know what went down at the Viper Room the night River Phoenix died? Are you aware of how Steve McQueen escaped death at the hands of the Manson family? But what about the real-life brutal murder that inspired David Lynch's Twin Peaks? These stories and more are told in the Hollywoodland podcast, where true crime and Tinseltown collide. Follow and listen to Hollywoodland wherever you get your podcasts.